This episode is brought to you by Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic, a 2-in-1 probiotic and prebiotic formulated with 24 clinically and scientifically studied strains to support healthy regularity and your gut, immune, and skin health. Optimize your gut health. Visit seed.com/Spotify with code Spotify for 30% off your first month of Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
We're getting to that point of the year where Portlanders start to batten down the hatches for the seemingly never-ending gray. And for those of us who battle seasonal depression, this is when we begin plotting out our strategies for staying well. So today on CityCast Portland, we're revisiting a conversation I had earlier this year with Sheila Hamilton, a former TV anchor at K2 here in Portland. She quit her job and dedicated her life to demystifying and normalizing conversations around mental health after her husband died by suicide. She's written books. She founded Beyond Well, a company and podcast that provides mental health services and training. And she's sharing with us some of her best advice to mentally survive our gloomy winters. It's Monday, October 16th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Sheila, thank you so much for being here. So just how bad is seasonal depression here compared to other places?
Well, you look at the map and we're really bad. I mean, the further north you go, the greater the likelihood that you're going to suffer from seasonal affective disorder. And nationwide, it's about 5% of people. But if you look at the concentration of people who suffer in the Northwest in particular, I think it's up to 10 to 12% of people report suffering from these kind of syndromes that start in November and don't really begin lifting until, May or June.
Yeah, so why does light make such a huge difference in our mood?
Well, our kind of happy zone is really controlled by the hormone serotonin, and the difficulty with not getting enough light in your eye during the winter is that your levels of serotonin really drop, and it also impacts the levels of melatonin, which can make you feel really sleepy and sluggish. And so we kind of have this really brilliantly formed pineal gland, which is monitoring all of that. And if you don't get enough true light in that eye, it is saying to the body, it's time to shut down, it's time to hibernate, it's time to eat carbs, it's time to feel like crap. I don't know if it's some sort of like evolutionary thing that has caused us to feel this way, but it's really interesting to me because I experience it. I know many of my friends experience it, and it got way worse the longer I was in Portland.
Yeah, I mean, I've had friends who've moved from like Austin or just basically the Southwest, and they'll last one winter.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, nope, not worth it.
Yeah, I also think that it's not just because of the rain. I personally love the rain. It's that color gray that never seems to budge during the
Mhm.
winter like this, where we really are lacking the kind of light that makes us feel like we're energetic, like we're motivated, like we're
Mhm.
positive. And so, the one thing that I always say to people is it's super real. If you look at the brains of people on MRI scans with seasonal affective disorder, they look exactly like the brains of deeply depressed people. Those areas of the brains that go kind of stagnant look exactly the same,
Mhm. What are your top 3 tips then for people to take care of themselves this time of year? I mean, are light boxes working for anyone?
Light boxes do work. They didn't work for me. I think it's really important to say like what the data shows versus what works from person to person. And for me, I didn't notice any difference at all. I did engage in an entire series of cognitive behavioral therapy lessons to learn how to deal with seasonal affective disorder. And
Mm.
that's kind of a strategy where they teach you how to actually think differently about how sad you are.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I have to say, in Oregon, there are CBT classes specifically for SAD. So look up those 3 things, CBT for SAD.
Is that where you tap yourself when you
No, cognitive behavioral therapy is all about training you to recognize your thoughts, the things you're
Mhm.
telling yourself, and how to reframe in a way that might be more helpful for you to move into an action mode. I will also say, getting the hell out of the city and into light is so important. I know
Yeah.
people like to like put off their little weekend vacation until March or April when the weather is nicer, but I'm not saying get on a plane. I'm saying go up to Mount Hood, get above the level where that slate gray impact is really bringing you down. I used to drive over to Bend just far enough so that I could have that break, even if it was just to walk around in nature where there was actual light in that day. I mean, I know it sounds extreme to get in your car and drive to get natural light, but I think seasonal affective disorder is extreme. So I was really escaping it. And then, many people just they go on SSRIs from November until April. Their doctors suggested a very low level
Mhm.
of some sort of antidepressant really helps with that serotonin push to get you through those months.
Man, it almost feels like we shouldn't be living here.
Don't say that. It's such a cool place.
No, of
It's
course,
such a good place.
but it's just when you get into that mindset, you're just like, "But why am I putting myself through all this?
Uh-huh.
Who's"
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, because when it's raining and the sun sets at 4 and you just don't wanna get out of the house, aside from Mount Hood, do you have any other suggestions when you just wanna, like, lay in bed under the blankets all day?
Yes, well, listen, you're speaking my language. One of the doctors who's on my team is Dr. Norman Rosenthal, whose team actually coined the phrase seasonal affective disorder. And he was really interested in it because he saw the impact on artists, especially
Mm,
creative people, how much it brought down their moods during their winter months and their productivity. And
mhm,
so, one of the things that he always talks about is making sure that even if you feel like you just want to get under the covers, putting something on the calendar with people who will hold you accountable so that you're actually training your body that that's not what you're going to do.
mhm.
I started a writing group during one of my worst periods of seasonal affective disorder. And I have to tell you, it was hell getting me out of the house. Every fiber in my body did not want to go. And yet, once I was there with other people talking about something creative, it really helped to bring my mood up. And you have to build on those little tiny things that help with mood.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do force myself after work to go somewhere where I can talk to another human being that isn't on the computer screen because
Yeah.
it feels
Yeah.
really, it feels like a dream world, and then it's
That's
a
right.
continuation of your
That's
entire day.
right.
You're just like, "Oh, okay, I woke up, I stared at this thing, I didn't move for
Yeah.
like 8 to 10 hours, and now I'm gonna go to bed and I'm gonna do it all over again." And how can you not get depressed, you know?
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, your instincts are correct because once you're out and you notice yourself kind of feeling better, that's when you take a cue from it to go, okay, this is the kind of thing that I actually need to be engaging in during these winter months.
Yeah. Sometimes that is easier said than done.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. I love
Oh
the
my
thing
God.
that you brought up about the importance of peer support in a sense of involving other people in your well-being because a lot of us do gain a lot of wellness by interacting with another human being in a positive way.
That's
Uh,
right.
I'd love to hear more ideas or resources that you might know because especially it's so hard to find a good therapist, especially for low-income people or people of color
Hmm.
in this area. So what kinds of things should someone do who needs extra help but maybe doesn't have the means?
So there are some community-based, nonprofit, wholly therapeutic options for people. I would look honestly through Multnomah County free mental health services. There's a long list of neighborhood-based places that actually come up, and they are starting to see people in person. But I think we make a mistake believing that we need to see a therapist when we can actually get so much of our well-being by talking to friends who understand us, mentors who are interested in what we're doing at work and what our personal lives are like, and actually not spending the amount of money that it takes for therapy. I am really a huge fan. And finally, the mental health world is kind of moving that way where peer support is getting just as much a kind of nod as other traditional therapeutic models.
Yeah. Let's take a break here, and when we come back, let's talk about ways maybe we can help others who might be having a hard time.
Are you tired of seeing Portland city government be so weak sauce? Progress Portland is a team of locals who come together to advocate for a more diverse, progressive city council in 2024. On our podcast, we interview exciting candidates like Angelina Murillo, running in District 3.
When I talk to people about public safety and public health, I try to explain to them that housing is public health and public safety. Adequate services for addiction, all of that is public safety.
And Steph Routh, running in District 1.
How do we knit together better policies that lift all boats, that we achieve shared prosperity?
District representation and an expanded council will mean a greater voice for the people of Portland. We want a city council that will fight for fair pay and strong unions, housing the homeless, and true police reform. Subscribe to the Progress Portland podcast now, wherever you listen to podcasts, and join our grassroots movement at progressportland.org.
You know, I've heard from single friends, both the queers and the straights, that Portland can be a tough place to meet new people. All the countless first dates that end up being a total time waste and money drain. You know, if you're tired of swiping, consider shuffle dating. It's modern speed dating that's been described as organic, fun, and casual. It's so low-key that others at the venue don't even know an event is happening. So you can avoid all those embarrassing first date vibes because there's no host or name tags or buzzers or whatever. You find your dates using your phone, and shuffle dating notifies you when each round ends and when the next one begins. After, you simply input match or pass. And if you find a successful match, numbers are exchanged by shuffle dating the very next day. It's low stakes and efficient, and you can sign up with a friend at www.shuffle.dating. These events do book out super quick, like 2 to 3 weeks in advance, so it's a good idea to sign up for their email list for first notice on the next one if spots are booked. Good luck. You know, it's so funny we started this interview really open in a sense of like, oh, here are some general things for people to learn from you. But as we've been going on, I feel like I'm just asking you about my personal.
I think that's what everybody does, though.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, wait, hold on. Let's talk about regimens for me. Maybe it'll help somebody else. So what things can I do to help others that I know if they're having a rough time? It's so hard to even know that you're depressed.
I know.
Sometimes it's hard to understand when someone else is depressed.
Honestly, Claudia, I think you just hit on one of the most important parts about mental health. If you recognize in yourself the vulnerability that says, I'm actually not doing okay, and you're willing to say it to me, you're willing to say it to another human being who's actually taking an interest in you, that is there's a lot of data to back this up. The most powerful thing you can do to change your mindset is to say, I'm not doing very well. Can I talk about what's going on? And it does not have to be to a therapist. Now, if you have a serious mental illness and you're actually considering suicide, you absolutely need to talk to a professional. But the first part is that recognition in ourselves. We are all human. We all struggle, and especially in the Northwest, a lot of us struggle from November until May. And so I would say first recognizing in yourself, what is it that's really going wrong? How is it that I can change my repetitive patterns so that I can help kind of bust out of this way of either thinking or modeling or being? And one of the best things that I found that's totally free is the apps that are coming online. They're really helpful. There's an app called How We Feel. And what it does is it kind of gives you the language for how you're feeling that day. It sort of teaches you about some of the missteps we make in our thinking if you get into sort of catastrophic thinking or believing that things are never going to get better. And then it dumps you into a video where you're actually learning CBT for free. Mm-hmm. One of the other apps that I'm using right now just religiously is called Positive Intelligence. And it was created by one of the most renowned behavioral scientists in the world. And he's offering all of his data, all of his videos, all of his training for free. And then, Claudia, just for you personally, start taking vitamin D supplements. They actually really, really work. It's like so well known that those of us in the Northwest have catastrophically low vitamin D levels, and you can't even process the amount of light you're getting if you don't have proper vitamin D, so supplement.
Yeah. My major thing is that I get ridiculously tired. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm now realizing like, oh wait, is that depression? Like I can't do anything else.
Yep.
And so just getting over that hurdle, like what would you recommend to someone who after work is just like shutting down?
Okay, so Claudia, this is what I speak to executives all over the country about, which is we are not trained as human beings to work the amount of focus that we're asking our brains to process, the amount of information that we're taking in a day. Our brains have not actually evolved to be able to do this. And so, out of Stanford's clinics, they've been able to show the most you should be focusing in the course of one day is an hour and a half at a time. And then you should be taking a break for yourself, whether it's you walk outside, you lay down on your floor, you actually come into your senses and anchor oneself in the moment of your body, your breathing.
Mhm.
All of this stuff is really powerful because it actually kind of helps the brain do a reset. So this is one of the most, like, I think, best kept secrets for people to avoid exhaustion at the end of the day is to get the F up. Get
Mhm.
up, walk away from your computer, and tell me whether or not you notice a difference.
Yeah.
The second thing,
Uh-huh.
you got to drink more water.
I've been trying to, but I keep spilling it everywhere.
Because dehydration is one of the major
Yeah.
reasons that we're so friggin' tired. And then I would also just say, I have a huge impulse toward carbohydrates in the winter because this is what our body is telling us. I need to have carbohydrates to store. Like having snacks near your desk that actually are made with lots of high protein and lots of vegetables and very little sugar. You'll feel a difference if you can try not to have the wine and the pasta. So it really is a combination of diet, of brain breaks, and making sure that you're actually really taking good physical care of your body.
Right. Well, thank you. I'm going to take your first piece of advice of immediately. I'm going to time myself today and take some breaks. All right, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I will report back. I hope anyone else who's listening who has a similar lifestyle as mine does it with me because I'll see if this is going to work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sheila. This was really enlightening.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. And if you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend or leave us a review? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.